Hey, what's up, guys? It's a Saturday night, and I'm just sitting here without a care in the world. And I was sitting with my family, and we were thinking about Bill Cosby and Cardi B. There's a lot of talk about Cosby right now, and I think, and I passionately participated in the Bill Cosby conversations, but I don't want to over participate because I have my reservations about Cosby and some of the choices he made. But one of the things that I find really fascinating is how there isn't much talk about Cardi B. I don't know if you guys know. Give me a yes or no if you were familiar with what Cardi B confessed to. Give me a yes or no if you're familiar with how Cardi B confessed to basically luring men in with the opportunity to, get some ass, and she would then drug the men. She would put something in their drink, and the men would either get robbed or even worse. Worse things could happen to them. She set him up with a tranny to do only God knows what. So the poor guy's waking up with a sore butthole and an empty wallet. I can only imagine, how that must feel. And I'm just utterly fascinated with how there's a difference. There's such a stark, glaring, in your face difference that people are showing when it comes to their complete obsession with one guy and no concern whatsoever with what Cardi B confessed to. I mean, this wasn't an allegation. This wasn't people saying she did this to me. This was her saying I did it. And despite what the media has been saying, I've been following Bill Cosby's Instagram, and I think I might be able to get either Cosby or his representative Andrew White onto the podcast at some point. But Cosby, they make it clear. They said the media is lying. There hasn't been any confession that Cosby drugged anybody against their will. Cosby said he used drugs with women, but he did not say I gave them to them against their will. And the fact that the media really isn't talking about that is another interesting kind of thing. Now, here's the deal. First of all, I want to say thank you, Vic. Sis, congrats on your wedding. Thanks, man. I appreciate that very much. Let's start from the beginning. Look, whatever opinion you have about Bill Cosby, I'm not judging you one way or the other. I did a survey, and I think it was maybe about 10% of you, 10 to 15% of you, don't think Cosby should have got out of jail, and that's okay to think that. Like we have freedom of speech here, as long as you're respectful. When you start getting real personal and ridiculous and stupid, or you just sound like a big dummy, like some guys come in because somebody said the word simp, they just say you're a big simp. People like that get blocked because I'm not mad at you for not liking me. I'm just mad at you for being stupid. So if you if you're stupid, then you're not welcome to be here. I like intelligent black people. Idiots are very predictable. So just don't be a predictable idiot, and you can say whatever you want. But here's the thing: when you're talking about this thing with Cosby, what's interesting is the stories with Cosby are very similar in that it's similar enough that I think it's okay to be disturbed by it, right? And the reason he's not in jail is not because he was presumed innocent. He wasn't found innocent. He was found not guilty. Those are two different things. Two different things, right? And so, if you really look at this, from an honest, objective standpoint, Judge Joe Brown did a great job kind of undressing Mark Lamont Hill on the issue and explaining that every judge he's talked to, every lawyer he's talked to, has pretty much made the point that you had to let Cosby go, that the proper procedures weren't followed, you violated his civil rights, etc. We've talked about this. I did a podcast on it. I'm not going to reiterate too much of this, but I think that's important to understand. And I find it kind of fascinating. I mean, this is the subtle, the sneaky part of white supremacy that I want you to pay attention to. This is how slick liberal white supremacy can be, or liberal racism can be. Think about this. You've got civil rights activists openly advocating for the violation of a man's civil rights, right? Not presumption of innocence or guilt. You can speculate on that all you want, but everybody has civil rights. And I was talking to one of my friends who's a pretty smart guy today, and I said, if I'm a lawyer or I'm a judge and I believe in the legal system, I believe in things like innocent till proven guilty, attorney-client privilege, all these rules of the legal system, then cases like this are the perfect challenge to test how committed I am to the system. One of the things about the legal system is it says that it would rather let 1,000 guilty men go free than to send one innocent man to prison, right? And so effectively, this is a test, So if you're, so I don't know too many lawyers or judges who are going to get so caught up in the emotionality of saying, I want Cosby to go to jail, where they will, critically undermine the legal system that they claim to believe in. Now, here's the other thing. So getting back to Cardi B, what's interesting is, if you're going to keep it 100, some of the Cosby stories sound to me like they're, when you're a celebrity, when you're famous, women want to get next to you, right? Give me a yes or no if you get what I'm saying, right? If you get a little bit of money, women think you're more handsome. They want to be around you. If you have a little power, there are a lot of women that want to be around you. I've been in Hollywood, and I've been approached by women, and I'm not even, 1,000th of Bill Cosby, but I've had that happen. We've all seen it's there. It's out there. It's really astonishing, because I never understood it. As a man, I don't get it. I don't understand what makes a powerful or wealthy man more attractive, and I can only chalk it up to just evolution, right? So you're Bill Cosby, and all these women want to get next to you because they know you can do something for their career. So they're there because they want something, right? And if you believe some of the accusations, which I think you can hear the accusations without saying that he should be in jail. He should not be in jail, but you can still believe the accusations if you want. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I just don't believe all the accusations, but some of them, it's like, yeah, something. Come on, man, something ain't right up in here, right? Well, that's not enough to send you to jail, but something ain't right here. But the thing is, all these women want to be next to you because you're powerful. They believe you can do something for their career. They're all there to get something from him. Do you get what I'm saying? Give me a yes if you're following my logic here. I'm breaking something down here that's really a little bit nuanced. So I want to help you understand this, because I'm actually going back to the Cardi B, Bill Cosby comparison. So these women show up to his hotel room alone because they want to get something from him, right? Some of them are down for whatever, right? Some of them are like, hey, I'll get on my knees, I'll do what you want to do. Like some of these women are like, hey, I'll have sex with a broke dude, like, let alone a rich guy who can help shape my whole career. Let's just be honest, that's what it is, right? Men. Chris Rock said it best. He said men work their whole life to get money and power, also they can get more sex. Like, that's literally what Chris Rock said. And I think that before the age of 40, that's probably true. I think we get a little bit older, the stage I'm at, I'm 50 now. When I was 35, I was different from what I am at 50. Let me just say that. At 35, you're like, yes, this is awesome. At 50, you're kind of like, okay, I'm not interested anymore. Whatever you got, you can keep that over there. I see this as more of a risk and a nuisance than an opportunity. I've been there, done that. That's it, right? But when you're younger, you know what it is, right? So the women are coming into Cosby's room, trying to be with him, be next to him, because they are there, not because they care about him, not because they want to love him forever, but because they're like, hey, this guy can really help me out. So according to the accusers, they got more than they bargained for. They got something that they didn't ask for, something that shouldn't happen to anybody, right? Somebody put something in their drink, allegedly, Cosby, according to the accusation, and they wake up and they find that they've been fondled or whatever other ungodly thing might have happened, right? Okay, fine. Now let's compare that to the Cardi B accusations. Let's compare that to Cardi B. So when Cardi B went on Instagram, she confessed. This wasn't hearsay. This wasn't accusers. This is, I don't know. You can weigh it out one way or the other. Which has more influence? A bunch of accusers and a denial from the accused, or when the accused says, "I did it." There's no accusers, but the accused says, gives a confession. I think a public confession is probably more compelling than a bunch of accusations, because sexual interactions between adults have a lot of ambiguities, where one person can walk away feeling one kind of way and there can be confusion, or if there's drugs involved or alcohol involved, there's confusion. There are things you have to prove. Whereas if the person who committed the crime confesses to the crime, then there, in the eyes of the law anyway, from what I understand, there isn't a whole lot more work you got to do. You got a confession, right? So Cardi B confessed that she would take advantage of men who were alone with her in a hotel room trying to get something from her, right? So similar to the Bill Cosby accusers, These men were there to get something from her. They weren't there because they liked her and wanted conversation. They were there because they wanted something that men tend to value. Men don't tend to to care as much about taking things like money. Men, you know what men want. We all know that, right? Whereas the women were with Cosby not because they wanted the sex. Some of them might have wanted the sex, but a lot of them wanted, money and career and fame and everything else, right? But either way, in both cases, in both the Cardi B and the Bill Cosby case, the parties were there because they wanted to get something out of them, right? So you're there because you want to get something from that person. And then Cardi, similar to Bill, would allegedly, it's all alleged, right? Except Cardi actually confessed. So I don't know if I don't know if this is still alleged or not, but she accused herself of doing this. So I don't know how you categorize that. But they would both allegedly drug the person who came there to get something from them. And then they would take something from that person, right? So in the case of Cosby, he took, he touched a boob, maybe he penetrated or whatever. Again, allegedly, all allegedly, right? Cardi B didn't want to penetrate anything. Cardi B wanted to penetrate that wallet, right? She wasn't trying to get the sex from the man; she was trying to get the money, right? But then, actually, she also said in her confession that she would actually bring a tranny in the room to actually get a little bit more from the man than what he bargained for, right? So it's like, we ain't just gonna empty your wallet. We're gonna take your money out your wallet and we're gonna put something in your butt, right? If you know what I'm talking about, right? So effectively, I don't know how you compare one crime or the other, right? I'm not here to say which one's worse, but I am here to sort of point out how similar these cases are. And what's so fascinating to me is how most people, particularly the white liberal media and black people, they're Negro minions, the Mark Lamont Hill types or whatever, are so obsessed with Cosby, but don't seem to have anything to say about Cardi B. I mean, I just think that's really fascinating. And not only do they not have anything to say about Cardi B, but Cardi B actually did an interview with Joe Biden, right? So she's interviewing with the president of the United States. Joe Biden probably wouldn't. 20 years ago, he probably would have been happy to sit with Bill Cosby, honored, in fact. But now he would probably avoid him like the plague, right? And then on top of that, they actually immortalized her violations of men or her victimization of men by actually making a movie about strippers who would drug men and steal from them and stuff like that. Right now, what's interesting is as well. I'm really kind of stating what I see. It's not like a question. It sounds like a question, but it's really a statement because I think I know the answer to my own question. Is how do you have a society where because the man is having his money stolen and not being forced to have sex, that somehow you think that him being robbed is somehow just not even in the same comparison space as somebody touching a woman's boob or whatever, right? Remember, Cosby went to prison because he allegedly touched Andrea Constand's breast. That's what it is. It's molestation, fondling, whatever you call it, right? And I really thought about that, and I said, what is there any crime that you can think of? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. Is there any crime you can think of that it regularly occurs that where men are the victim that gets treated as bad as like a rape charge? Like, one of the worst things that a man can get put on him is a rape accusation, right? You can't wash that off. A lot of black men get accused. There's no no evidence. People believe in anyway. And just because you have the accusation, a lot of people avoid you like the plague. Bill Cosby, they said, has become toxic in Hollywood and all this other stuff, which, I think he can do fine without Hollywood. But seriously, is there any crime you can think of that women might commit against a man that will be treated as badly as molestation, like or touching a woman's breast or having sex when you weren't supposed to do it or whatever, right? So I kind of think it's fascinating to me that if a white woman were to touch a part of my body and I caught her doing it, right? I don't really know if I could get that same white female privilege of knowing that somebody would pay me $3 million. Andrea Constand got $3 million because he touched her boob. I don't know, ladies in the room, if somebody offered you $3 million to cop a field, would you take the money? What would you say? What would you say if men said, "Hey, I'll give you $3 million if you just let me touch it one time"? How many of y'all would be okay with that? I'm not saying that it's okay. I am certainly not an advocate of unauthorized titty touching. There's only one pair of titties I would ever touch, in my life. But seriously, like I think that's kind of an interesting trade, right? And what it speaks to, the white supremacy in it all, is to say that the white woman's body is so precious and so valuable that if you even touch her against her permission, not only do you deserve to lose all your wealth, but you deserve to die in prison. Now, is there any body part on a man's body? Is there anything on my body right now where if somebody touches it against my will? Because remember, Terry Crews, the guy grabbed him. He grabbed his crotch. Remember that? Now, did they try to give this guy, 10 years in prison? Did they, did he have to pay $3 million? I mean, seriously. Somebody said, Erica said 3 million for a field. Does it come with a fish sandwich? So you need to stop. You need to stop. That's funny. That made me laugh. But seriously, Terry Crews, remember Terry Crews guy? The guy grabbed his crotch, and nobody was talking about sending that man to go die in prison, right? So a lot of this is like really interesting in terms of this very strange kind of bias that's there. But I mean, obviously, Cosby shouldn't be in jail. I mean, almost any decent lawyer that I know says, yeah, you can't lock him up because you don't have the evidence. You don't have what you need to actually do it. We do have a system, right? But still, though, the fact that Cardi B confessed to something that is just as egregious as what Bill Cosby did is interesting because I'll tell you what, if Cardi B were a man, if she were a black man and went on the internet and confessed to drugging women and stealing something from them, and again, I told you, the men that steal stuff, if you know what I mean, they ain't gonna steal your money. The men steal something worse than that, right? Right. But if Cardi B were a man, would she be in jail? If Cardi B were a man, would she be in legal trouble? If Cardi B were a man, would she be getting sued? Would she be taken down? Would she at least be canceled? I think the answer is yes. And I think the fact that she's not canceled really kind of pokes a hole in, in the argument of everybody who thinks that they're pursuing Bill Cosby because they're trying to do the right thing. You're not trying to do the right thing because you have a whole lot of people in Hollywood that are doing lots of crazy stuff, terrible things. You have Cardi B who flat out tested you. She went out and confessed to what she did, and you didn't do anything. So I personally think that this sort of privilege, this real interesting privilege, is not just something to observe, but it's also a threat. It's a risk to black men. A few years ago, I wrote an article that I don't take back. I don't take back anything I've ever written in the last 25 years. I've been writing on racial issues since 1996. And I wrote this article and I was explaining to young black men why you want to be real careful about taking the bait. They drop a lot of bait on black men so they can get you caught up in bad situations. They drop a lot of bait, and the bait usually comes in the form of something being offered from a woman. And I explained that the reason you as a black man don't want to take the bait is because you might run into what I call a wolf in freak's clothing. A wolf in freak's clothing, meaning, she looks good. She's got the tight skirt. She's got the nice body. She looks sweet and innocent, but you don't understand what could be lying beneath the surface there, right? You have lots of people that have mental health issues, who like Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson actually went down with Desiree Washington, one of her ex-boyfriends came. He was trying his best to come to court because he said she falsely accused me. She had sex with me and was embarrassed, didn't want to tell her father, so she told her dad that I raped her, and that wasn't true. And I wanted to tell the jury, and they wouldn't let me, or something like that. Go look it up. Go look it up. Greta Van Susteren did a really good story on that. And the jurors actually said that if they'd heard that evidence, they never would have convicted Mike Tyson. Now, this does not mean Mike Tyson's a good guy, though. It just means that these things are out there, right? So you have situations where you go to campus and the white girls, they like the black boys. They like our equipment and all the other stuff that we have. And they get embarrassed, right? They get with you, they do some freaky stuff, crazy stuff, whatever. What's the Hollywood actor that did that movie? Nate Parker. He had that crazy thing with that white girl many years ago. And, and she was, I guess, just doing stuff that I didn't even know people did on college camps. I'm talking about like having sex, sleeping with two guys at the same time, and they just met that day. Just stuff that I don't know. I wasn't raised around all that. And then years later, the girl kills herself. and they blamed that on Nate, right? And they were trying to pin him down as, a person who did this thing to this white girl, and there was absolutely no evidence whatsoever that he did any of that, right? Even when I went to go read the transcript of conversation they had. So she recorded their conversation where she said, you raped me, right? You violated me. And he said, he was basically like, what are you talking about? He said, no, you were participating. You were an active participant. You were, like, so I guess she was drunk and doing all these things. And because she felt this guilt, perhaps, from what she was doing, or if she felt that somehow because she's under the influence that you shouldn't take her seriously anymore. That's white female privilege, because, this idea that says that if I choose to get drunk and I come to you and I offer you, like, if I get drunk and I offer you $100 and you say, okay, thank you for the money. And then later on, I say, you stole from me. And you say, well, no, I didn't steal from you. You offered me the money. And I say, well, no, I was drunk. I was under the influence. So you should have said, no, you knew I was drunk. So you shouldn't have taken the money. Well, that's stupid. That's stupid, right? Because you're going to look at me like I'm an idiot. But basically, I'm telling you, I need you to babysit me because I'm not a full-grown adult who's capable of making independent and intelligent decisions. And so that's the argument that you hear when you talk about some of these assault cases, where there are people who literally believe that if a woman has been drinking and she offers to sleep with you and you agree to sleep with her, that you are a rapist. There are people who believe that. Have y'all heard that? I don't know. Give me a yes or no if you've heard that. Because there were people who actually believe that. They believe that if she's been drinking, it's your responsibility to be her daddy and to say, no, you really didn't want to sleep with me. You just said you did. You just grabbed my penis and said you wanted to sleep with me, but you really didn't want to sleep with me, right? Like, there are people who actually believe these kinds of things, which is really tough for the black men. It's really tough for black men. And that was why I wrote that article years ago, warning men that just because you're being offered stuff doesn't mean you got to take it. They offer you bait because they want to get you trapped. And so you see this girl, she's looking good. She's got the nice curves and everything you like. And you don't know if you're dealing with somebody that has a mental health issue. You don't know if you're dealing with a Cardi B who might drug you and rape you or steal from you or whatever. You don't know if you're dealing with somebody who's going to get vindictive. There are people that are smart who are able to understand the advantage that they have over a black man. What was it? The guy that played for the Dallas Cowboys, he plays for him now, Ezekiel Elliott. He had a white girlfriend, and Ezekiel told the girl to get lost. He said, I don't want to deal with you no more. So she's out at a party, and she's banging on the door trying to get inside the party, and he wouldn't let her in. Well, she screams at the top of her lungs, I'm a white girl. I can get you sent to prison. I can get you kicked off the team, right? Like, she's saying all these things because people know about white female privilege. And the reason I warn black men in this article, and I don't take this article back, I'm glad I wrote it. I warn black men to say that when you go into that situation with, and you go into that private room with a woman, especially a white woman, you're at a huge disadvantage. You better really make sure you trust that woman, because if she decides she wants to destroy you, she can destroy you. Like Eric Chandler says, Becky tears. She's got a whole bucket of Becky tears she can use that will give her whatever she wants. And once that accusation's made, your reputation's stained for life. And I wrote this article, and here's what's interesting. Here's where the rope-a-dope gets real complex. So when I wrote this article, there were people who were enormously offended by the fact that I stated that black men can get falsely accused of sexual assault, right? They got really offended. They said it's really rare. It almost never happens. I said, yeah, but it does happen. Well, yeah, but it's really rare. No, but it does happen. And I had all these people that were really mad at me because I wrote this article warning black men to keep the shit in their pants. Just be a little bit more careful. Like, don't go laying down with any woman just because she offers it to you. Like, there's no rule saying that because a pretty girl offers you something, you're supposed to take it. That's sometimes you're getting baited into a bad situation. And people got so mad. And I said, wait, I thought y'all be happy that I was writing an article telling black men to be sexually responsible. Like, why is that a problem? And I swear to God, this was the most hilarious thing ever. So check this out, y'all. So at some point, this group of black male scholars, wrote an open letter. Literally, I think the open letter somewhere on the internet. And so this group of black male scholars who at these white universities who call themselves feminists wrote an open letter like basically attacking me, saying I'm attacking women because I'm talking about false accusations. And I'm just looking at this and I said, I just couldn't help but laugh. It was the funniest thing I have ever seen. I said, first of all, who are these black male scholars who call themselves feminists? I ain't got nothing against feminism. Extreme feminism, yes, I have a problem with that. But womanism and I, I'm not gonna call myself a feminist. I will support women's rights, but as a man, I would feel weird calling myself a feminist. Right? That's something you do when you're trying to keep your job at Duke University or whatever, because then you fit in with white people and they think you're really great. They like those soft, love, lovable, cuddly little black men that they can trust and all this other stuff. Right? So I'm not the guy. I'd probably get fired from a job like that. But then it was sort of like fascinating to me because I could not believe that these men had been so vaginified that they were afraid to stand up on an issue that has ruined the lives of thousands of black men for the last several hundred years. I mean, I said, look, I get it. I understand what you're saying, that we want to make sure we consider what victims go through. We want to support women in every way. Y'all know what I do. Y'all know how I am. I support black women. I don't support every black woman. Like people are get confused. They get confused because they'll hear me say something about Lizzo, and then they'll say, "I thought you supported black women." It's like, no, but just because I have an issue with Lizzo's record label doesn't mean that I don't support black women. I know a lot of black women who have an issue with Lizzo because Lizzo, unfortunately, is being paid to promote obesity as body positivity. Obesity is not body positivity. Obesity kills black people. So why are you out promoting a minstrel show and lying and telling black people to get all the pre-existing conditions that were killing them during the pandemic? And then you come and you start whining because black people are the number one people dying during the pandemic. But you were celebrating all that when you were running around lying and telling people that obesity is body positivity. So you got to start making sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You sound stupid right now. You're running in circles. So no, so people will say, well, I thought you say you support women, but you don't support Lizzo. There's no rule saying that in order to support women, I got to agree with everything Lizzo does. I just don't. I'm sorry. I think that whatever record label is paying her to make a damn fool out of herself, she needs to go get a different deal and start just becoming a great performer that she is without feeling like she has to bring the whole minstrel show with it. It's an embarrassment. It really is. And it's also unhealthy. It's killing black people. I think it's okay to talk about that or to talk about something that Cardi B is doing. That doesn't mean you're not supporting black women. That's one of the things that black people do that we have to watch out for is we do a lot of hero worship. We think that because white people put somebody on TV, we got to co-sign on every stupid ass thing that they do. Every damn fucking retarded thing they do, we got to be like, oh, well, you ain't supporting so and so. Well, no, if it's stupid, I'm not gonna go along with it. I'm sorry. If it don't make no damn sense, I'm not interested. No, thank you. And I guess I get that from my parents because my parents always warned us about being bandwagon Negroes. They always told us if you go along with the bandwagon, you're gonna end up in the same situation as all your stupid friends. So don't do that, right? So with that being said, though, with this particular article that I wrote about black men being sexually responsible, I remember being very. It was like a moment of clarity that showed me just how crazy, backward, and stupid racism has made us become. I said, here I got a bunch of my so-called brothers who are attacking me because I'm speaking up for black men. But they have nothing to say about all the men that are being locked up, all the hell that black men are catching everywhere. And all you can do is get mad because I'm warning black men that sometimes people make false accusations against them that get us killed. And this ties back into the Cardi B versus Bill Cosby thing because what it speaks to is that there's a hierarchy in America. There's a racial hierarchy in America. White women are at the top. White women are the most protected group of people in America. That's why, and you see it in the incarceration rates. White women are the least likely to be incarcerated out of any group of people in America. Go look it up. White men are next. Black women are after that, and then black men we get sent to prison the most because we're the scariest. We're the ones that people are afraid of. Also, there's the interesting racial double standard where there are things that a black man can go to jail for that nobody else can go to jail for. Like, for example, if a black man goes and sleeps with a woman and the woman is, let's say she's a white woman, and she says that man raped me, and she has enough Becky tears to go with it, and is compelling in her accusation, he could go to prison for 20 or 30 years, and nobody will feel sorry for him. Nobody will say, okay, he made a mistake. It was a terrible sexual experience. He literally could touch her boob and go to prison 10, 15, 20 years, right? Like where, and now mind you, don't forget now, prison is a torture chamber. Like prison is not a good friendly place. It's not like being put in timeout. In prison you have people getting beaten, people getting raped regularly, and not raped one time. Like a white woman gets, like Andrea Constand got her boob touched, which allegedly she claims that Cosby touched her boob. She got $3 million for allegedly getting her boob touched. Um, Imagine if you're in a place where you get raped not once, not twice, not 10 times, not 20 times, not 100 times, maybe 5,000 times, and there's no justice for you at all. So the whole time you're in jail, you're in there 15 years or whatever, you're there for 5,000 days. Every single day, the same guy shows up and rapes you, and you leave prison and you're traumatized and you have AIDS, and you've been beaten half to death, and they send you home to your mother just literally in a pulp, right? Like these things happen in prison, and I think that these sorts of conversations don't happen because people don't really have a lot of sensitivity toward men in general, but black men especially. Like people don't really sit back and think about it. Like they can empathize with a white woman's pain all day. Like a white woman says, "Oh my God, in 1975, Bill Cosby touched my booty at a party and it was traumatizing. I needed 30 years of therapy. I need to get, a check for $1 million so I can feel better." All these things, right? Like in fact, actually go listen to some of the stories. Like I think listening to the specifics of each allegation can be helpful in terms of hearing the stories, but you'll hear some of the stories where there are situations where something will happen and you'll be kind of like, okay. And I've heard black women say this, and this is what I heard this from a woman actually, where she said that one lady that was an accuser of Cosby said that I was at a party, he brushed up against my butt, he touched my butt, right? And she kind of laughed, honestly. And I was just sitting there listening just to kind of, because I don't know. I mean, if somebody, I've had my butt touched, by a woman by accident or on purpose or whatever, I didn't think of it as something that was traumatic. I didn't think of it as something where lock her up, send her to prison for life, take all her money, right? I didn't even think I had the right to even say that. I would just say, don't touch my ass, right? But she told me that story, and honestly, this woman kind of laughed. She said, she said, if that happened to me, she said, I'd be like, girl, do you know that this celebrity touched my booty? Like, now again, I'm not saying that that's the way everybody should react, right? Everybody has a different reaction, but I'm just really, I think for men that really want to understand how the world works should take a moment and kind of reflect on just how biased the world is against you, how much the world hates you, how unforgiving the world can be toward you. The only types of black men that tend to be accepted and appreciated in society are either gay men. That's why you have the Don Lemons and people like that, the Jonathan Capeharts, doing really well. They fit right in. Even though there's all kinds of sexual deviance in the gay community, but you don't really hear about it, right? Because everybody's just sort of into this, like, okay, we're trying to accept them, so we're not going to call out any of the bullshit that they do, right? But you did have that guy out in California who was attracted to young black boys, and he was drugging them, and he was raping them. I forgot the guy's name. He was a big time Democratic Party donor. I forgot his name. One of your so-called liberal ally friends. Y'all, Ed Buck. Is that his name? Ed Buck? Yeah, look up Ed Buck. Ed Buck. I don't know what the situation is with his story, but these black boys kept showing up dead at his house. And he was, filling them up with crystal meth and doing all kinds of crazy stuff or whatever, right? So there's deviance everywhere, right? But that deviance isn't highlighted in the media because they want to keep that on a low profile. They want to act like that's sort of like, okay, that's not such a big deal. But when it comes to what black men do or are accused of doing, that's sort of like public enemy number one. Like I can't think of any white woman right now who is as hated. Can you give me a yes or no? I mean, there's probably there's like 8 times more white people in America than there are black people, at least 7 times or something like that. Name one white woman who is as hated in America as Bill Cosby is right now. Give me one white woman that is as hated, that's as feared, that's as seen as much of a. Can you yes or no? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no. Or can you think of one white female who as disdained, who's considered to be as toxic to the public as Bill Cosby? Can you name one? Can you name one white male anywhere? Now, mind you, there's a whole lot more white people, and you can't convince me that white people don't do dirt too. You can't tell me that white people don't get accused, you know, accused of things. You think Hillary Clinton is as hated as Bill Cosby? Really, you think so? I don't know. I would. I don't know. I can't think of one. I don't think Hillary. I don't think they hate Hillary. I mean, Hillary Clinton is loved by half the country. If Hillary Clinton ran for president, she would get about 45, 50 million votes. So that's not, I don't think that compares. No. I mean, I think she has people in the Republican Party that don't like her. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, they're not trying to send her to die in prison. Now, Harvey Weinstein, that is a good comparison. Now, I would say Harvey Weinstein's up there for sure. Okay, someone says Ghislaine Maxwell. Now I think Ghislaine Maxwell, she was what was it? The guy Jeffrey Epstein's little partner. And Ghislaine, what's interesting with her is I guess she's kind of in that same role that Ti's wife Tiny is considered to be in. I don't know, but either way though, my point is to say that generally speaking, there's like a type of hatred for black men that's reserved specifically for black men, right? You don't really see that with other groups of people, and also there's something about male, particularly black male sexuality that is very scary, threatening, etc., that causes people to view um, an allegation of a sex crime, even something that's not as far as like sexual assault, but let's say it's something like that black man touched me or that black man harassed me, right? The Me Too movement wanted to get to the point where they stopped even talking about rape. They started talking about things like rape culture. Like just because you tell a woman that she's attractive, you're just as bad as a rapist, right? And that was where they were trying to push things because there's sort of this, and the black man makes kind of an easy target. It's very easy to kind of just sort of go after the black man because nobody's there to defend the black man. Black men, a lot of black men are scared to defend themselves and defend each other. Some black women don't defend black men. The good black women do, but a lot of the black women don't. Some of them don't. And white folks don't defend the black man. So the black man is kind of an easy target, right? Or if so you have a rich black man who is sexually active, um, it's very easy to get money out of him because all you have to do is accuse him of something. Judge Joe Brown actually told a story about how when he was making as much money as Judge Judy, his ratings were as good as Judge Judy. He said that, which by the way, I think Judge Judy is the highest paid person in Hollywood. So Joe Brown was making crazy money, and he said that somebody paid. A lady came to him and told him that there was a guy who paid her money to tell the police that that he touched her butt, because literally a black man touching your butt was enough to ruin that black man, right? It was enough to basically make him into a criminal, put him in the same category as a predator, etc. And again, a white woman touching my butt would not give me the right or ability to go and label her as a predator for the rest of her life. But as a black man, you go up, touch somebody's butt, touch somebody's boob, and don't. I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm saying if you did that, and the person pressed charges, and let's say you have money in the bank, she can get a big chunk of your money, and she can get you labeled as a sexual predator for life, right there next to the rapists and the child molesters, where literally you move to a neighborhood and they put you on a database saying that a predator is in the neighborhood. Like, and I think that these are the kinds of things that kind of go through my mind, because the honest to God truth that was that I asked myself, that a lot of people don't talk about, was when I saw that Cosby was accused of touching Andrea Constand's breast. I remember thinking, should an 83-year-old man be forced to die in prison because he touched a breast? Is that an appropriate punishment? Like, does the punishment fit the crime? Because if she had touched his breast, she wouldn't be expected to die in prison. They wouldn't send her to a place where she could be beaten, she could be raped, because she could be tortured for and then lose $3 million, right? If she touched his breast or touched his penis or touched his butt, um, I think it would sound insane to say, oh yeah, we're going to take $3 million of her money and then send her off to die in prison. I really think people would look at me like I'm crazy, but because it's a black man that's accused, for some reason it all starts to make sense. Do you follow what I'm saying? I know I'm sounding a little bit um, theoretical here, or I don't know if I'm talking. I don't think I'm talking over your heads, right? You're all smart people, but I'm really kind of openly challenging. I like to have conversations that go beyond the basic, right? The basic of did he do it or did he not do it, right? We've had that conversation, right? We've talked about innocent until proven guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt, all that stuff, and also you have the right to have whatever opinion you want. I'm not offended by people who disagree with me about Cosby, right? I don't totally believe that he didn't ever do anything wrong. I think most reasonable people who believe he did nothing ever to anybody, I'm not in that camp. Let me just say that. But people who think he shouldn't be in jail, yeah, I'm in that camp. I also think that that if he, to me, if you really want, if this guy's 80 something years old, who is he really gonna hurt at 80 something years old? Lock the dude up in his house, make him sit next to Camille for the rest of his days, and no actresses. By now the word is out. It's almost like when I started hearing about those parents that were sending their 17-year-old daughters backstage with R. Kelly in 2012. I didn't understand that, to be honest with you, because I remember thinking by 2012 everybody knew that that R. Kelly was kind of messed up. Like I was really frustrated with black people back in 2004 because somehow people thought that because the Negro could sing that makes everything okay, right? And I was like, this guy's, this guy, there's something going on with this dude. He married a 15-year-old, right? That right there, that got me. You married a 15-year-old. 30-year-olds don't marry 15-year-olds. You're not supposed to do that, right? And that case closed, right? Case closed. Keep kids away from R. Kelly. So this idea that it's 2012 and you're so desperate for your daughter to become a star that you literally offer your child up on a platter to R. Kelly and you're letting him mentor your daughter and letting him take your daughter backstage. I don't even understand that because by that time the secret's out. It's not like everybody thought that he was this sweet innocent guy. Like something's going on here. And this is another interesting dynamic that the media doesn't hit again because they're just sort of into these simple-minded racism, like, oh, he's black so he must have done it, that kind of thing. But they don't understand that sometimes you're dealing with a world. Entertainment's a funny place. The entertainment world is really funny. There are people that are real desperate. I've talked to some friends that I have in Hollywood about some of this stuff, not just with Cosby, with R. Kelly and everything. And actually, one of my friends, I was talking to her about R. Kelly in particular, but we were talking about Cosby and R. Kelly, kind of because they're kind of put in the same group. and and she said, "Yeah, I met R. Kelly and I hung out with him, and me and my friend did, and nothing inappropriate happened. He didn't try to do anything, but he had women around him that you could tell he had a certain kind of relationship with." And her feeling was that because he knew that we weren't in that category, like we weren't groupies, we weren't trying to get next to him, we weren't trying to do whatever in order to get an opportunity, he just talked to us with, like the normal respect you would give another person. But at the same time, he would have another girl sit next to him who he damn near had on a leash like a puppy, right? And so her feeling was apparently those two had a different arrangement than the one he and I did. Like there was no point where he said, "I'm gonna tie you down and kidnap you and make you come to my house and force you to take drugs and do all these things." No, she was like, no, he just talked to me like a regular person. But with the women that had decided they wanted to be in, with him in an intimate way, it was a whole different dynamic, right? And I think that this is something that they're missing when they're talking about these cases. They're really talking about these things as if all these people are normal. A lot of these people, in entertainment, just are not like you and I. They're not like regular people. They're a lot of them are shifty. They're trying to get access to money, drugs, or fame, and really, all those things are drugs. Money affects your brain just like a drug. Actually, literally, it affects the hypothalamus, so it has the same effect on your brain as cocaine. So, literally, money, fame, and drugs. They're all drugs. They all are in the same category. Fame is a drug, money is a drug, and drugs are drugs, right? So basically, when you're talking about entertainment, You're talking about people who get together and do things that regular people can't relate to, and they're all like, okay, here's Bill Cosby, here's R. Kelly, here's whoever. I'll do whatever I got to do to get next to this person, right? And then it could translate into something where we've got an agreement, we've got an arrangement, because I'm offering you something you want, right? You're a man, so I'm offering you some sex or whatever, right? At that point, you're supposed to give me what I want. You're supposed to make me famous. You're supposed to put me in a movie or whatever. And I think that what happens in some of these situations, not all of them, but many of them, is that the man uses um, the promise of fame to lure in the person who's willing to do anything for fame. That's why it's very dangerous for you to get caught up in this bullshit. Like seriously, this BS about trying to be famous or I'll do anything in order to be successful. Don't get that desperate, because successful people will trick you into a false quid pro quo. Thank you, Martin, for that term. They'll trick you into a false quid pro quo. Like the rapper Too Short used to rap about how he would make women think that he was going to give them a lot of money, right? And they would do whatever to get money from him, and then he wouldn't give them anything, right? And so Bill Cosby and Cardi B, it sounds like, if Cosby is guilty of any of this, we're kind of playing the same game, right? Like, okay, you want to be next to me because you want to be famous. Like Cardi's like, okay, you a man, you trying to get some ass. I'm gonna make you think that we got a good quid pro quo. I'm gonna make you think that if you give me some money, I'll give you, whatever in the bedroom or whatever. When really I'm gonna drug you and set you up to get raped by a tranny and then empty your wallet, right? Bill Cosby allegedly, again, if any of this is true, it is, oh, you want to be next to me because you'll do anything to be famous. So I'm going to get you to pay in advance, and then I'm not going to give you anything. I'm not going to help you become famous. I'm not going to return your calls anymore because I'm done with you, right? And so in some of those situations, when a person comes out and says this person did this to me, in many cases it's because they made an agreement and they expected compensation, and they did not get compensated in the way they thought they'd be compensated, right? That's what I find really interesting. Like I'll never forget that video I saw of a Hollywood actress who was online. I'm not gonna say her name because I don't want to be embarrassed if she sees a video. But she literally was talking about just being honest. I think I don't know. I guess she just was being a little too honest that day. And she basically was talking about how she was out there in LA. She was desperate and she didn't have any money and she needed a new laptop. So she found a sugar daddy. She found an old man that liked young women, and she said, "I'll sleep with you if you buy me a laptop." And so she got with the man, she slept with him, and she was pissed. And the reason she was pissed is because he didn't buy her a laptop. And I actually told one of my friends that story, who happens to be a woman, and she said, "Wow," she said, she must have some bad pussy. She said, "Because if I give you my pussy, you definitely gonna give me the laptop because you gonna want seconds." So she was laughing and said she must not be that good in the bed because I would have got my laptop and then some. So we were laughing. We were laughing about it. But the reality is that sometimes people make trades like that, and sometimes those things happen, but then like you could see where that person would come back and say, maybe, but you could see where if she really was pissed off, let's say she felt slighted, let's say she felt disrespected, like, wait a minute, how dare you take, I'm giving, like Anita Baker said, I'm giving you the best that I got, and all I want is a laptop, and you didn't even deliver the laptop, right? And so you could see her going out and saying, I'm gonna go public now, and I'm gonna go and tell everybody how you exploited me and you used me because I'm a young innocent 30-year-old woman, and you tricked me into blah 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 because you're a man and you're evil, when the reality is that if you believe that women and men are equal, right? If you believe women have agency in their choices and in their lives, if you believe that women have the same capabilities as men to make decisions on what to do with their bodies, why do we always make this assumption that every single quid pro quo in the bedroom happens because a man tricked a woman, like manipulated her, like her brain, she has the brain of a 10-year-old, so he just outsmarted her and or he intimidated her into making this trade. When the reality, let's just keep it 100. There are some women who are very smart, a lot of women that are very smart,
who are like, you know what? You give me what I want, I'm gonna give you what you want. That's what it's gonna be, right? And here's my point that I'm making is we don't know the difference. We don't know the difference, and that's where the nuance comes in that they don't want to address because politics makes people stupid. So because of the politics, they write down every story. Every time a woman tries to sleep with a powerful man, they rewrite the narrative as she was just so intimidated by his power that even though she consented, she really didn't want to because she was being manipulated and coerced and she's not capable of making her own decisions. No, let's keep it real. There's a lot of women who like men who have power. Women do not like men who are powerless. Powerless, broke ass men do not get as much ass as the men who got money and power in their bank account, right? So and that's the way it's always been. This way it's always going to be. And what I would say to men is you have to be careful because when you get out here, I mean, a lot of the guys that follow me, I take pride in the fact that the men who follow me are solid dudes. The guys that are that I see in the airport, when I shake your hand, they'll give a firm handshake. I met people when I was in Vegas. I was bumping into people all over Vegas that knew me, and every guy I met was solid. I swear to God, every dude I met, maybe he was with his wife. One guy I met, he was with his wife. He was a military guy. They were buying real estate together. They were starting a business together. I was so proud, and I love it because the people who follow you are a reflection of your message, right? Like at least I see it that way. The people that follow me, like I know you're following me because we get each other, right? So the thing about the guys that are in this space is that most of you are very just quality dudes. Like you've got a lot going on. You're gonna have, if you don't have wealth and power now, you're gonna have it one day. And what it's gonna come with is it's gonna come with a lot of opportunities that you might not have had 5, 10 years ago, right? Like, when I became when I got a little bit of money, a little bit of fame, a little bit of power, I had I was approached in ways that I wasn't approached when I had none of that, right? And the thing about it is you got to be real strategic because they will beg you to put your hand in the cookie jar, and you put your hand in that fucking cookie jar, and there'll be some goddamn razor blades in that motherfucking cookie jar, and it'll cut your damn arm off. There's so many men. I'm talking about guys that didn't do anything wrong, that are good people, who are being mislabeled in certain ways. And I'm not saying Bill Cosby is in the category. I don't identify with everything about Bill Cosby. I just think he shouldn't have been in jail. But I'm telling you, you got to be smart. You have to be careful. If you don't do that, if you can't protect your shit by being mindful of what if everybody you let next to you, that's how you're gonna go down. Like most powerful men get taken down over something sexual because men love sex. And women like it too, but in a different way. Men, I understand what it feels. I mean, as a man, do you know men? The average man thinks about sex every 7 seconds. Seriously, like literally, you're constantly your brain's wired to think about your reproductive opportunities. That's just what it is. So you see a girl walk by with curves, you turn and you look. You can't even help but look. You see, it's in you, right? Especially if you're an ambitious man. Ambitious men tend to have more testosterone. Testosterone is linked to sexuality, and so therefore you're kind of having all these urges all the time, and then you get opportunities that match your urges, and it's very easy to be a kid in a candy store. And so when I got married, and I didn't have guys, a lot of guys didn't understand why I would choose to get married, I guess because I had those opportunities, and I saw my wife as a form of protection. Like a good woman kind of slows you down a little bit. Like when a man just does whatever he wants to do, what men do when we're allowed to do whatever we want, we eat really bad food that's gonna kill us. Maybe if you smoke and drink, you probably do a lot more smoking, a lot more drinking than you would do if the woman wasn't next to you, right? When you're just at home by yourself, all you do is drink all day, smoke all day, maybe play video games all day. You engage in pleasure-seeking behavior all day long. When it comes to women, it's one woman after another. Some of these women have been all over the place. You putting your penis in every toxic waste dump that happens to walk by that's attached to a big booty, and next thing you know, you got all these other problems that come with that. I felt that marriage, or at least having a good woman, even when I wasn't married, I chose monogamy. Right. Even when I wasn't married, I wanted to have that one solid woman next to me
partly because I was afraid of myself. I didn't want to just be out here just doing whatever I wanted. I liked having a person next to me who would say, "Come on, boy, slow down. Like, don't know that's not what you want to do, right?" And that keeps you out of trouble. Like, I really think they think about it like this: if Bill Cosby had spent more time next to Camille, he probably wouldn't have had as many problems as he has right now. I mean, maybe they had their issues as a couple, and maybe that's why he was in the Playboy Mansion and doing whatever he was doing personally. But I really think, in hindsight, the world was ready to forgive Bill for doing a lot of stuff. Like he could have had a lot of he could have had a lot of sex as a married man, and the world still would have looked at him as a hero. But instead, he kind of overdosed a little bit. He put himself in too many volatile, vulnerable situations. Like you're laying down with these women that are drug addicts, um, desperate drug addicts who are money hungry, fame hungry, fly by night, gold digging, raggedy ass pieces of shit who don't have, Camille Cosby has more class in her fucking toenail than some of these women have in their whole body. Let's just keep it 100. Let's keep it real. Some of these women are women that you shouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. So, the minute you give them an opening, they're going to tear you down. Or if you make an indecent proposal, you set up a quid pro quo, like, okay, you give me some sex, I'll help you with your career. Well, you better deliver. You better deliver, and you better deliver well, and you better deliver permanently. Because the minute you stop delivering, the minute you stop returning the phone calls, the minute you stop sending the tuition money, is the minute suddenly the quid pro quo agreement becomes a rape accusation. And that's actually documented. Like, if you look at how many situations, what was really fascinating about Cosby's situation is how many women there were who were really good friends with him for a very long time, and then after he cut them off, they come back and say, "Oh yeah, he raped me too." Right? And I'm not saying that means that he didn't do it, right? But there's no accountability there. There's nobody saying, "Well, how were you? Why were you bragging to your friends for 20 years that you knew him and taking money from him, and you felt this way about him?" I mean, clear that doesn't mean he didn't do these things to you, but clearly you were okay with all this until he cut the money off. Then suddenly it's like the things I was okay with, I'm not okay with them anymore. And it's not because it was as bad as people might say. It's because it's not worth it anymore, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? And I think that those situations have to be put in a separate category from typical sexual assault situations, because in most sexual assault scenarios, you're not going to see somebody that's eagerly chasing down opportunities to spend more time with their rapist, right? And where people get away from accountability on this is they call that victim blaming, or they say, well, there's no standard way that a person's supposed to react to rape. Okay, I get all that. I get all that. But even though there is a variety of different ways you can respond, you should put those different varieties in different categories and not try to act like it's all the same, right? So this drug addicted Hollywood actress who's really desperate, who was trading sex for money, is trying to put herself in the same category as the person who was just walking down the street one day and got kidnapped at knife point, and somebody did something terrible to them. I think those are two different situations. A lot of these Hollywood relationships are weird. They are really weird. I mean, you have people that sell their children for a chance to be famous, and no, and regular people don't get that. So they're trying to understand the life of Bill Cosby through the lens of the average everyday American. And I don't think that's appropriate. I think that's why you have all the confusion that you have. That's why the media is not analyzing it in the right way, because they're looking at it through all the wrong lenses. And let's not forget the lens of racism that says that you can accuse the black man of things that you and send him to prison for things that you would never send a white woman for. In fact, pay attention now. Listen to this. Check this out. Bill Cosby paid $3 million to Andrea Constand, and it was gonna die in prison because he allegedly grabbed her titty. Okay, can you name any time in the last 400 years that a white woman has been forced to pay $3 million and die in prison for touching any body part of a black man? Can you name one single situation where that has occurred? Give me a yes or no. The answer is no. You can't find a single situation like that. And I know people think I'm an asshole for bringing that up, and that's fine. You think I'm an asshole? Well, fuck it. I think you're an idiot. I think you're a racist. So there you go. We're even now. We're equal. Because you know that I'm right. The only reason you're mad at me is because I'm correct. Your racism has blinded you from your ability to objectively assess any of this. So those of you who think Cosby should be out of jail, you're right. He shouldn't be in jail. But those of you who think he's innocent of everything and never did anything wrong, well, you probably I don't agree with you. I think the man might have done some stuff wrong. But I also know that we live in a country where there's a lot of people who've done things wrong, who've never been sent to prison because they couldn't prove it. You can't convince me that Joe Biden hasn't done a lot of things wrong. In fact, Joe Biden has sent hundreds of thousands of black people to prison. A lot of black men died in prison under Joe Biden because of his, crime bill and all that. To me, he's like an Adolf Hitler kind of person. Bill Clinton has done a lot of things wrong. Donald Trump has done a lot of things wrong. So don't sit here and act like Cosby's the only bad guy in America. He's just the only bad guy that's splattering all over the TV set, and they're doing it because he's black. And that's just what it is. If he were Cardi B, then he'd be doing interviews with the president, making hit records, and being seen as some sort of American hero. And that's just what it is. So anyway, I'm just sharing thoughts tonight. Um, I hope you guys gain something from this conversation. I appreciate those of you who come in here and listen, who can tolerate me, because I kind of I'm always looking for deeper insights and deeper understanding into things. I like to deep dive. I don't like to just scratch the surface of stuff, because I think that when it comes to this racism thing, it's pretty subtle, it's pretty slick, and a lot of it you only uncover what's really going on, the most sinister aspects of it, by digging deep at the most fundamental basic assumptions of what's going on. And again, this whole Cosby thing is being looked at with the fundamental assumption that it makes sense for a man to pay $3 million and be sent to die in prison because he touched somebody's boob. And again, if you change the race around, and if she had touched his breast or whatever, there's no way on earth you would take $3 million from her and send her to die in prison, right? But people reserve those punishments for the black man because they kind of think black men deserve to be, in prison. That we deserve to be tortured. Nobody hears our pain. Nobody cares about our struggle. Nobody hears about those poor guys who go to jail and are traumatized beyond belief. Nobody talks about that shit, but they'll talk all day about, a white woman who, got her titty touched in 1982 and how she can't recover from that. But they won't say nothing about their brother who went to prison and got raped 4,000 times, and was falsely accused in the process. And to all those people, I just give a very polite fuck you, because you're the very people that I'm fighting against. You're the people that I have no interest in trying to live in the world that you live in, because the world you live in is a racist world, and I think it's really terrible that so many men have to go through that. And if you are in that category, my heart goes out to you. Some of y'all got relatives locked up. I mean, I saw my uncle go to jail when I was 11. I had an uncle that was like a older brother for me. He was my number one favorite person on the planet. I loved him more than anything. And his name was Donald Couch. And he went to jail when I was about 11 or 12. And when he went to jail, I think he was about he was 19 or 20. And he went to jail, and I don't know what they did to him. I don't know what happened to him, but he was never the same. 30 years. I mean, 30 years of torture, just kind of seeing him make bad choices and everything, because he was traumatized. He went to prison as a 17, 18-year-old, with grown ass men, and they did horrible things to him, and I just think about how many thousands and thousands of people there are in that category, and nobody cares. But again, you expect me to sit here and listen to you talk all day about how some white woman is traumatized because she got her titty touched in 1985, but you can't hear me when I'm talking about a black man who went to prison and got raped 500 times. But that's America. That's the country you live in. And what's required is that you have to point out those hypocrisies. And a good way to kind of understand these situations is just switch the races around, switch the race and switch the gender around, and see if it makes sense when the genders are switched or when the race is switched. And then that helps you understand the depth of what I was talking about, this whole Bill Cosby Cardi B thing. If Cardi B weren't a black man, she'd be on her way to prison right now. I have no doubt about that. So anyway, I'm gonna go. By the way, my podcast, they have an audio. I have an audio version. It's at the drboycebreakdown.com. It's on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. So if you guys want to sign up for that, feel free to go there. And also, starting next week, I'm gonna do a like a book club where we're gonna go through Dr. Claude Anderson's books like piece by piece. And I'm gonna start with Black Labor, White Wealth, and work through that. And then we're gonna work through the Black History Reader. I'm gonna work through Powernomics, and it's totally free. You don't have to pay any money to be a part of this program. It's just something offered to you for free in the Black Business School. So if you want to be in that, go ahead and sign up for Black Keys to Greatness. The URL is blackkeystogreatness.com. It's totally free. Just go to blackkeystogreatness.com. I'm gonna try to find the URL and put it on the screen so you can see it. And that's just something I just want to do for you guys, because I was just thinking about how many people really want to understand Powernomics on a deeper level, and I want to kind of help with that. So if that's of interest to you, the URL is right there, blackkeystogreatness.com. All right, guys. Please have a good day, and it's great talking to you, and I hope you guys have an awesome night. I'll see you soon. Take care, and hit the thumbs up button if you could. Please hit the thumbs up button. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.